the temple, they had to do their own thing. And that's the way religion does. We go, you're unclean, you can't come in until you get some things right. Until you believe like me, say the prayer like me, stop your this, drinking, cussing, smoking, and even if you're not inhaling, got to do all these things to fit the right box, But Jesus confronts this idea when he says there was a man, and he was traveling, and this man got beat up by robbers on the road. And then, he's left for dead on the side of the road. And then this preacher's on the drive, and he's like, got to get somewhere. He's got to get to his meeting, And all of a sudden, he sees this guy, and he kind of like pulls over, and he just checks him. He's like, I don't have time for this. And he's like, help. And he's like, no, he just speeds off. I got a preaching meeting to get to, And then next, you got a Republican politician that pulls up next to him. And he's like, somebody needs to get this guy some help. Calls the funeral service or something. And then is on his way to his stuff. And both of them were believers. Both of them were Jews. Both of them were holy and clean and God's people. And then all of a sudden this Samaritan is just on his way. He's got to be somewhere. He's actually got to be to work, and he's on his way. And he looks, and there's this man. And he goes, I got to be somewhere, but I can't. He calls in, says, I'll be there later. Gets the guy. Picks him up. In our modern day terms, it would be he throws him in his car, battered and bloody, and says he put him on his camel. Well, that was a mess, right? The guy got beat. When you ever went to give a hug to a homeless person or something, you got a little scared that maybe you got some dirt on you or something, or you ever give a hug to somebody that's a little more dirty, and you're kind of scared that maybe you're going to ruin some stuff. Kind of like Jesus with the leprosy man. He said he reached out and touched him. You're not supposed to touch a leper because you might get leprosy. Something about love just permeates fear. It just pushes right through fear. I'm telling you, we can't do this on our own. It's not like we just go, enough, but we just let Jesus love right through us, and all of a sudden we just are able to embrace. And this is what happened with the Samaritan. He said, I can't leave this guy. He takes him, and he drives him to the nearest hotel in the inn, and he says, hey, I want to get this guy taken care of. Here's $2,000, or here's probably $10,000, what would be nowadays. Here's $10,000 for the hospital bills and for all his cleanup and everything, and here's keep him in the inn as long as he needs to be here. Get as many doctors as you need. Take care of this guy. Make sure he's all right. And he leaves him and he goes. And Jesus is answering the question that the Jews said. They said, well, who is our neighbor? And Jesus says, well, which one showed love here? Who was the neighbor? And obviously it was the Samaritan. And the Samaritan wasn't a believer. But something about the Samaritan, what did he express in that moment? He expressed the power of God.
Yep.
Because the power of God's not just in signs and wonders and miracles, although those are wonderful and they're fun. But I'm telling you, love is a sign and a wonder and a miracle. It's God manifested through this Samaritan to this other guy. Would you let yourself be taken care of by someone you think is totally wretched and going to hell? Because I'm telling you, God showed up for that guy that day through a Samaritan. And that offended the Pharisees. They got mad about that story. Jesus always pushed the buttons that the people had of exclusion. Every time we tried to exclude someone, Jesus would always tell a story to mess with our mindset. And he says, you think you guys are the winners. You guys think you're keeping the law. You think you're righteous because of what you believe and what you do. But I'm telling you that I've included more than you realize. And I'm doing more in the world than you have a clue that I'm doing. I'm taking care of the world. Jesus has got the world in his hands. He's got it. And it doesn't mean we sit back and do nothing, because actually it's way more fun that way. Because when we realize that we are off the hook with God because of what he's done on the cross, that you're loved, that you're fully accepted, all of a sudden you can go around and look at the world that same way. I remember when I had to have